welcome back to my channel. I'm Nurse Dre. Thanks for stopping by. You guys are not going to believe this shiznit story that I have for you today, so buckle up, it's going to be a wild ride. But before we get into the video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to make sure that you get every video that I upload, and hit the little bell, the notification bell, so that you get notified every time I do, because it's always exciting on Nurse Dre's channel. Okay, we all know that. Today we're talking about Angela Diaz and Ian Diaz and how their lives became all of a sudden very dramatized after they got married. Now, I could not get a real thorough background on Angela or Ian. I do know that Ian is actually a U.S. Marshal, and in fact you can't even find a picture of Ian anywhere. Like, literally there's just a sketch of him. That's it. So I'm sorry I don't have pictures for him. I don't have a lot of pictures for either of them. But I guess because he's a U.S. Marshal, I don't know. Anyway, so Angela Connell and Ian Diaz met in January of 2016. And by February of 2016, they're married. They're very happy with each other. They get along great. Everything's going perfect. By May, Angela announces some happy news. She is actually pregnant with twins. And, you know, Ian is very excited to be a father. Angela is very excited to be a mom. It's, you know, it's kind of quick in their relationship, very early in their relationship, but they are happy and ecstatic for the birth of their two babies. But that didn't last long, because by May and June of 2016, Angela begins getting very nasty, threatening emails from somebody who is threatening to, you know, harm her, kill her babies, you know, just some nasty ass shit. So I'll read a couple of the emails to you, but I don't want to go too far into it because there's a bunch. On May 29th, the first email comes in. I hope you are scared to death tomorrow. Be prepared. Don't sleep. We will steal your child and we will watch as it dies. You are a piece of shit, and I hope to God you burn for what you have done to us. Now, they say us, and let's just note that for a moment, because that would mean that there's two people or more involved in these emails and these threats, so let's just keep that in mind. Anyway, moving on. By May 31st, she gets another email that says, you deserve nothing but a life of lonely torture. I have always wanted to hurt you. There is no place you will be safe anymore. And then on June 1st, an incriminating email comes in, because the writer finally reveals maybe who she is, or he is. You might be beautiful, you might be the one he married, but you still are a sinner and must be punished. I will make sure you are reminded of your place by force. So this kind of sounds like maybe an evil ex-girlfriend or a crazy ex-girlfriend who is jealous of Angela and Ian's relationship, and I guess they're like now threatening Angela. And Angela, by this point, you know, a month into these emails, she's pretty terrified, because she's pregnant. She has these, not one baby to worry about, but two babies to worry about. And she's in this new relationship with Ian that was going perfectly, but now things are starting to get a little, you know, rocky, because she's terrified something's going to happen to her, and she's trying her best to figure out who it is. And some of the emails that are coming in have some different names on them, and she doesn't know the name. She doesn't know who this person is. She doesn't know anyone by this name, but the name would be Michelle. And like I said, she doesn't know who that could be. So she goes to Ian and she says, look, some of these emails that are coming in from different people, there are these different email addresses. Some of them say Michelle. And Ian, his first thought goes to, straight away, his ex-girlfriend, Michelle Hadley. Now, at the same time that they realize that these emails are probably coming from Ian's ex-girlfriend, the emails are stepped up a notch, and she starts getting pictures in the emails, pictures of women being beaten, naked, tortured, babies with black eyes that have been beaten, just terrible, terrible things, and she's starting to get even more worried. Now, somehow Angela finds out that there's a Craigslist ad in the paper for her, or in the on Craigslist for her, and it's a rape fantasy. It is asking that someone fulfill her fantasy and come rape her while she's walking her dog. And the ad literally uses Angela and Ian's address. It uses their condo. And she does walk her dog, you know, at different times of the day, but at night is this particular time that this happens when she walks her dog. And so now she's wondering, is this person watching me? Are they, like, how do they know me? I don't even know Michelle. I don't know this ex of Ian's. What is going on? And why on earth would someone put a rape fantasy online for me like I had posted it? Because it sounded like she had posted it. But we all know that the other person who was sending these emails most likely was the one who was posting the Craigslist ad, right? That's what we all think. So Michelle finally has had enough of this and she goes to the police. So June 1st, 2016, Angela goes to the police and she reports that Michelle Hadley is most likely the person who is behind these emails, that she's getting threats for her and her 2 unborn children. She's showing them these pictures of like women who are abused, who are decapitated. The babies are like, there's just dead fetuses. I mean, there's nasty stuff in these emails. And so her first police report, police say basically, look, we can't really do anything about it. Yes, they're threats, but you haven't gotten hurt yet. There's no physical harm to you. There's no one's stalking you. There's nothing we can do right now. So she accepts it. She goes home and hopes for the best, right? Now on June 13th, Angela goes back to the police and she reports that strange men have been lurking around her condo, watching her from across the street in their cars. Like, just, she feels as if these random ass men that she doesn't know are stalking her. So she goes to the police and she tells them, look, I've been getting these emails, I've had these threats, now I have men stalking me, and there's a Craigslist ad on Craigslist about someone wanting to make my fake rape fantasy come to life. And the Craigslist ads get even worse because now they're saying not only her address, but they're also specifically saying, if I refuse the rape, if I struggle, if I scream, if I say no, continue the rape, because that's my fantasy. What? I can't. Like, who would be so evil as to go that far and do something like that, you know? It's crazy. So finally on June 24th of 2016, these fantasy Craigslist ads, these threats, everything come to full physical reality because Angela calls the police very distraught and she's telling the police that a random man that she does not know has followed her into her condominium garage where she parks, and as she got out of her car, the man attempted to rape her. When police get to the scene, she is just distraught. She's crying, upset, she's screaming, she's, you know, just in this panic mode. Her skirt is fully ripped halfway off. She has marks around her neck, and it appears as though a man has come in and tried to rape her. And they ask where the suspect is gone. She says, I don't know. And she claims that she believes that Michelle Hadley has set this whole thing up. I mean, she couldn't take down the Craigslist post because it wasn't her that put them up. And she couldn't stop these threatening emails, so, you know, the cops said they couldn't do anything about it, and now people are attempting to rape her. She is terrified, to say the least. Guys, my eye is watering for like no reason. I'm not crying about this story, but I don't know what the hell is going on. It's just watering today. I don't know. Whatever. I guess I'm just too hot to try, you know? So who is Michelle Hadley? Who is this woman who is sending these threatening emails, this evil woman who is evil, posting all these nasty Craigslist ads on Craigslist, and who is this lady? Well, let's look at Michelle Hadley. This is Michelle Hadley, okay? Beautiful girl, but is she crazy? Is she evil? Let's find out. Michelle Hadley and Ian Diaz are ex-fiancés. Let's just say that. They started dating from a dating website in 2013, and everything went great. The relationship was awesome. You know, they really got along. They laughed with each other. They had good times. And by 2015, they had decided to move in together. So they move into this beautiful condo. Everything's going great until they get engaged. As soon as they get engaged, Ian turns into a completely different dude. Okay, so he starts asking Michelle to dress more sexy. He wants her to get fake nails. He wants her to dye her hair. He wants her to wear short skirts. And it even gets to the point where Ian starts asking Michelle if she will sleep with other men in front of him so that he can watch and masturbate to it. Michelle is kind of a reserved, conservative person. This is not who she is. And she's like, nah, man, nah, dude, ain't doing it. Nope, not doing it. But Ian persists. This is one of his fantasies that he wants to live out, and he wants her to do it quite often. Well, one night Michelle does get a little tipsy, and she ends up doing this for Ian because she's his fiance. She wants to please him, and since he's been so persistent at it, she finally does indeed do the deed with another man in front of Ian. And immediately when she wakes up in the morning, well, immediately when she's done, she's already regretting it. But when she wakes up in the morning and realizes the impact, the actual, what she had actually done, she was so devastated and disappointed in herself, and swore that she would never do anything like that again to herself. Now, in the morning, like I said, she feels bad, but she remembers, oh shit, that didn't just happen. That was recorded on video. Ian had recorded this on video. So she goes straight to Ian and she's like, Ian, please delete that video. And all Ian has to say to her basically is, no one put a gun to your head and made you do this. I'm not deleting the video. So now he has this video of her having sex with another person that she doesn't even want to be out there. Anyways, it would later be shown that Ian was doing a lot of weird things on top of this. Like, he was following Michelle around, like where she went to work and school, and like he had put a GPS tracker on her car so he knew exactly where she was at all times. And he was just being creepy and really controlling. And finally it got to the point where he got physically abusive to Michelle, and Michelle couldn't take it anymore. And it all came to a head one night when Ian went nuts. She told Ian she wanted to leave him, she didn't want to be with him anymore, and he basically threw her down and said, you're not going anywhere. And she like literally had to crawl away as he was like, you know, trying to beat her. And she finally was able to get away from him and break up with him and stay away from him. And over the next few months, the breakup turned into a battle over who got the condo, because they both wanted the condo, or they both wanted the money to sell the condo. You know what I'm saying? Like, they wanted to get out of it and get the money out of the condo, but neither one of them was willing to share it, I guess. So they were in this legal battle over the condo. Well, not even a month after Michelle and Ian break up, then we see Ian is now married to a new woman named Angela Diaz. So back to 2016. So at the time of the attempted rape on Angela Diaz, Michelle is that same night finishing up a date with a new person, and she's getting out of the car and she's going up to her home, and police come and they arrest her. They arrest her for all these incriminating emails that she's been sending, the threats, the rape post, all of this. They arrest her for all of it. Her bail ended up being $100,000. And this was her first time ever getting in trouble. She had never been in trouble for anything ever. I mean, she was a straight-laced kind of person, like I said, conservative. She went to school, she went to work, went home. She didn't party. She wasn't that kind of girl. She wasn't a vengeful kind of person at all. The only thing that was dramatizing in her life was the fact that she was fighting over this condo with Ian. And she didn't even know that Ian was remarried or married. She didn't know that he was dating anybody, nothing. She had no idea that Angela was living in the condo. Nothing. She knew nothing of Angela. So while she was in jail, these emails stopped coming into Angela. But as soon as she got out of jail, the emails began again. And while Michelle is being interrogated, she's telling the police, I don't know who this Angela person is. I didn't know he was married. I don't know anything about this. And she tells the police her side of the story of what's going on, you know, her side, and she's trying to explain, I did not send these emails. I did not post a Craigslist ad. Why would I send emails with my name on them, like in the email addresses, and send threats like this to her, knowing that the police could find out exactly who sent it? She was like, that's just putting a red flag on my forehead saying, hey, I'm doing the crime, I want to do the time, you know? But even though she's telling the police her side of the story and she's denying everything, police don't believe a single word she's saying, and they arrest her for several sex crimes. And this is crazy because Michelle, like I said, is not this kind of person. And now she's facing years in prison for sex crimes. Like, if that goes on her record, she'll never be able to get a job. She'll be a felon. She'll never be able to do anything. All of her dreams will be crushed, and she begins to panic. But like I said, she was eventually released on a $100,000 bond. I mean, her parents put up everything they had to try to help her. They tried to get her a good lawyer and everything, and it basically made them go broke because of how much money they had to put up for her. So from the beginning, Michelle is completely outmatched. She, not only by the fact that, you know, the person accusing her of this is a law enforcement officer. You know, Ian is a U.S. Marshal, not just a police officer, an actual U.S. Marshal. And then Angela's corroborating the story. She's got these emails coming from email addresses that are related to her email addresses. And she tells police that at some point she had somebody try to hack into several of her email accounts, and she didn't know what to do about it, so she just brushed it off. But she changed her passwords and everything was all good. And that's the only thing that ever like corroborated with the story, like that made any sense to her. And so she thought that Angela and Ian had been framing her just to get the apartment. Like, if she were in jail, she couldn't pay for the apartment, so she wouldn't get it. That's all she could think of in her mind. Like, what else, what other kind of threat was she? Because she wasn't in Ian's life other than this. She didn't want to be with him, and she told police that he had abused her physically, mentally, emotionally. Her sex life with him was crazy. And speaking of her sex life, she couldn't believe how many questions the police had about her sex life and didn't believe half of what she said. I mean, they were like, oh, well, if he was so abusive, then why didn't you ever report it until now? And she's like, dude, I just wanted out. I'm not that kind of person where I want to go to court and be in all this drama. I just wanted out, and I got out, and I'm fine. So I didn't report it. And the cops never believed her because I guess it was easier for the cops to see her as that femme fatale who was a scorned woman and was enraged with jealousy over this pregnancy and this marriage of Angela and Ian. They never once tried to look into the IP address of where the emails came from. They never investigated anything further. They just wanted Michelle in jail. And basically it looked like the cops were covering for Ian and just, you know, kind of like sweeping her story and her part of the story under the rug and like just covering for him just because he was a U.S. Marshal. And they believed him because he was a U.S. Marshal. So when a slight investigation comes up, see, when she was arrested, the police had a warrant for all of her electronics, like her computer, tablet, phone, everything, right? And when Michelle finds out the allegations against her and that they had taken her electronics, she was happy because she was like, none of my stuff is going to be on, like, none of this is going to have come from any of my electronics. So go ahead and search whatever you got to search because it ain't coming from me, buddy. And I will prove it with my electronics. She knows that shit never came from her IP address. Nothing, right? Because she knows she's innocent. She never did this. So police look into this and they do find that no, there was nothing coming from her IP address. Nothing coming from her school IP address, nothing coming from her computer, her phone, her tablet, none of her electronics. So if Michelle was indeed guilty of these crimes, she had done it from someone else's computer and someone else's IP address. And they didn't see anything, they couldn't find out who. So what did they do with this evidence? Like great policemen do in all these cases, they ignore it. They ignore it. Completely ignore that fact. Does anybody smell a lawsuit coming on? Because I do. So police move on to see where Michelle had been sending these emails from because they're sure that she has used some friend or family member's IP address. So they subpoena Google to release the IP address of the person who had been sending the emails to Angela. And when they get the subpoena, when they get the information back, the IP address, you know, will show them, of course, whoever was sending this or where it was coming from. But problem is the person that was sending the emails was using a VPN. Now, a VPN, if you don't know, is a virtual private network. Really all it does is mask who you are and where you are. So it basically makes it very hard for police. Y'all, my eye will not stop watering. It basically makes it harder for police to find out who you are. And if you were just a regular person trying to find somebody's IP address, you wouldn't be able to find it. But through subpoenas and all that, police find out where exactly this shit is coming from. So on July 14th of 2016, Michelle is arrested once again for the attempted rape of Angela Diaz. Now, this time, the judge sets her bail at $1 million. And her parents and she cannot afford to get her out. So at this point, she's facing months in prison until her court date, and then she's facing life in prison if they can prove that she's the one that, you know, put these gang rape fantasies on Craigslist about Angela and, you know, pretending to be Angela. If they can prove it, she is facing life in prison. That's a huge thing. I mean, if she's really innocent and she goes to jail for life, how terrifying or how terrible would that be? Can you imagine? Oh. So the police release a statement and they say, "We believe we have a true public safety issue, and if Michelle Hadley is not arrested, Angela Diaz will eventually be raped or killed." What it looks like to me is Angela has posted this shit herself and she's trying to get herself raped. She's trying to get herself, you know, she's threatening herself and her own 2 babies. Like, what? That's what's going on here. Nobody has done this to her. Michelle hasn't done this. They can't prove that she's done anything. Like I said, she doesn't even know Angela. Now, months before this ever happened, like I said, Michelle had been getting these emails saying that somebody was trying to hack into her email addresses. And then also, she got an email from Craigslist, like trying to confirm that she had listed this gang rape fantasy online. And she's like, no. And she had actually contacted Craigslist and told Craigslist that she did not do this, but never heard back from them. She had also gone to the FBI and the police department because she thought that someone, maybe Ian Diaz, was trying to impersonate her online, but never got anything back, never heard back from them. And when she tries to tell police that she had already gone to the FBI, Craigslist, and the police department to try to say that Ian was impersonating her online and no one took her seriously, she thought, isn't that evidence to this? Doesn't that matter? But no, it didn't matter to anybody. Not the judge, not the police, no one. No one. So in the meantime, Michelle's parents are trying to gather as much evidence as they can, right? And they find out that on the night of the alleged attempted rape of Angela at her condo, the surveillance cameras were on and running and they got the tapes and there was no activity on the tapes. No men creeping around, stalking Angela, no men trying to follow her in the garage or attempt to rape her, nothing. So that was the first reveal that kind of took everybody aback, because why would she say that she was raped or someone attempted to rape her if it never happened? Who is that sick? Who would do that? For what? And why would she blame Michelle for this? Why? Not only that, police finally find out that the IP address that had been sending all the emails, that had posted all these Craigslist ads, the IP address was Ian and Angela's condo. It had literally been coming from Angela. And not only that, she was sending herself stuff from Michelle while Michelle didn't even have access to her computers or phone or laptop, anything, because police had all of that in evidence. And then she was in jail at some point. So how was she sending all this stuff? Y'all, this bitch, she basically framed Michelle Hadley for her own rape. And not only that, put herself and her babies in danger by saying her actual address on these Craigslist ads. I mean, was that her fantasy that she wanted to follow out? I don't know. But she was gonna get raped and murdered by someone because of her own stupidity. And the cops are ignoring all of this. Now, in the background of all of this mess that's going on with Michelle, we find out that Angela is basically a habitual liar. She's lied about everything. And Ian gets fed up with it. On September 30th, 2016, right? A few months after Michelle's been arrested and charged for all these sex crimes and the attempted rape of Angela, Ian gets some sense knocked into him. I don't know what happens, but Ian goes to the police. And the story that he has for police is like none other you have ever heard, girl. Listen to this. He tells police that he knows for a fact that Angela was actually framing Michelle, and he knows that because he saw her do it. On top of that, she had told him that she had had a miscarriage. She had told the police she had had a miscarriage because of all of these threats that were coming her way and because of the attempted rape. Then she got pregnant a second time. Okay, first of all, that pregnancy was an actual abortion. He tells police that he actually encouraged her to have the abortion because she didn't even know who the father was. She didn't know if it was him, she didn't know if it was her ex or whatever. Anyways, then falls pregnant again, and this new pregnancy is actually a lie. She had actually gone online and bought fake sonogram photos of a baby. And when she hands these to Ian, it doesn't have her name or her information on it, or even the date, and he's like, what the hell is this? Like, this isn't yours. Anyways, he finds out the pregnancy is fake. She's a habitual liar. She has framed Michelle at this point, and I guess Ian's feeling guilty, so he goes to the police and tells police everything. Angela had even lied to Ian about fake doctors, fake jobs that she had that she never had, and she had even told him at one point that she had cancer. I mean, this bitch went into it. Like, I guess it sounds like he didn't want to be with her that much, and she wanted to try to keep him, so she's like one of those women that's like, oh, but I'm pregnant, and so the guy stays. Oh, but I have cancer, and so the guy stays because he feels guilty for leaving. Like, that's what it sounds like she is, you know, that kind of person. But y'all, even after Ian's admission of all of this, first of all, Ian is never charged with anything. We'll get to that later. But Michelle Hadley is not released from prison until like a week later. Like, literally, it took them a week after Ian admitted everything, after they had all this evidence proving that she didn't send these emails, nothing. Finally, after a week, they let her go. What is this police force? And even after they released her, it took police 3 effing months to exonerate her publicly. Like, they would not come out and do a press release and say that she was exonerated, that she didn't do it, that Michelle had actually done this and framed her for it. They would not do that. And the only reason they ever did 3 months later was because Michelle finally had to file a lawsuit and put the pressure on them. And finally they come out and say that she's exonerated. So, what happened to Angela? Well, Angela. Oh, Angela. On January 6th of 2017, she was arrested, and 3 days after she had been arrested is when they exonerated Michelle. And they say the reason that they come to the conclusion that Michelle hadn't done it and that Angela had framed her was painstaking cybernetic police work. Like, they had done something, you know? No, motherfucker. No, you don't get to say that. No, because you knew what happened. And you swept it under the rug because Ian had been a U.S. Marshal. You don't get to say that. Furthermore, Ian was never charged with a single thing, even though Michelle swears that he probably orchestrated the entire thing. She thinks he was behind it because he wanted the condo. How fucking shallow can you be? They didn't even release Ian's name to the public. No pictures, no name, nothing, y'all. They completely protected him. So December 20th of 2018, Michelle filed a lawsuit against the city of Anaheim, California, because of the police department, and against Ian and Angela Diaz for the crap that she had to go through for this. I mean, she was in jail for 3 months for something that she never did, that she never even knew about. Ian is still referred to as John Doe in the case, which Michelle thinks is an injustice because she swears it's him that did all of this, you know. So police finally say that the reason that it took so long for them to find out who had actually sent the emails and that it wasn't Michelle was because of Angela's use of a VPN, that virtual private network. But Michelle's lawyer says that that's not true and that is just an excuse for them to cover this up, the whole thing. And he says that he has proof that the police actually knew that 21 of those emails had come from Angela and Ian's condo 3 days before Michelle's first arrest. 3 days. So they knew this the entire time, and he has proof of it. So on October 17th of 2017, Angela pled guilty to a whole host of charges, y'all. Like 10 felonies. 10 and 22 counts of filing false police reports. But among the felony charges were false imprisonment, kidnapping, perjury, sex crimes, literally everything in the book. Now remember how I said Michelle was in jail for 3 months and she was facing life in prison for something that she didn't do? Well, Angela, even though she had all of these charges, she struck a deal with the police to plead guilty, and y'all, she only spent 5 years in prison. That's all she got. 5 years. She almost ruined this poor girl's life. Her entire life. And she gets 5 years in prison for it? What? What? And Ian walks away. Ian walks away. Woo, I'm mad. No, I'm mad. So Angela now lives at the McFarland Female Community Reentry Facility in Central California, if you want to know where she lives. She has since said that Ian was a part of this and she did not do this on her own. So what happened to Michelle? Y'all, this is awesome. Michelle got her MBA for business, her master's in business. She got a great job at a beauty company. She moved all the way across country from California to New York, where she had, she had become infamous in California. So she moved to New York to live with her sister and escape all of that. And even though her life might seem normal now, she still suffers from the shockwaves of this entire situation. She's still climbing out of debt that she accumulated while she was incarcerated. And while she was incarcerated, Ian had sold the condo that they were fighting over for $29,000 over what it was worth, or what they had bought it for. And she still to this day, y'all, has not seen a cent of that money. So there's still a crater in her life. There's still shockwaves that affect her. But overall, I'm so glad that she was able to climb out of this, prove that she was innocent. Her parents were so brave. I didn't speak about how brave her parents were, but they were. They went and did several investigations. For Michelle, I hope that you can move past this and this doesn't cause too much trauma or PTSD for you. I'm sure you're scared of the cops now. I would be too. But that's for Ian. If I had a picture of your ass, it'd be right here. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you guys think about this crazy woman who tried to get herself raped. And let me know what you guys want to see next. I'm all ears. Whatever you want to see, I will dive into and go down the rabbit hole for you. So let me know. Make sure you do hit that subscribe button on the way out and hit the like button for me if you don't mind. I will see you guys next time. Bye.